Hi, this is Ayun, and today we are going to see how the API of the ELADR backend application works. So first, in order to do that, we have opened the ELADR backend repository in a text editor app. I personally choose VS Code, but you can open it in any text editor app of your choice. And yeah, here is the main code, the main code base app.js. But in order to run this script, we'll have to run a few things beforehand. So first of all, we'll start the IPFS daemon and we'll type in this simple command. And as we can see, the daemon is ready. Don't be flustered by these failed messages. These don't come in the way of uh, the script runs just fine. So now, and here we can see our MySQL server is running. So this is PHP myadmin. Um, it's not. Okay, we can see it from here. You can see it's running in the Xmap terminal here, and now we'll run the script, backend script, with the help of Node.js. So we are running these from the terminal that is provided by VS Code itself, and this generally takes some time. Maybe I'll cut this part out. So we can see it has started. The script has already started. It's running, and then we'll move on to this one, Postman, in order to debug and see how the API calls are working. As we can see, uh, the app is basically listening to these ports. So yeah, we can see here the connection has been successfully established, which means our backend script is running just fine. And now we can move on to Postman. So in Postman, I have already opened the API collection for this application, and we'll start from the first. So this right here is a GET request. This GET request is for checking whether the ELADR server is up and running, checking the status of the server, and we'll send this request and wait for the response. So as we can see, we got a valid response back from the backend server, and this is the response that we got. So it's in the JSON format, and we can actually see it here. We can actually see it here. So we'll move to the first app. Yeah, so this is the function that we get function that we are talking about, and we can see that this is basically hard coded, and we can actually uh, add more fields and like key and value pairs here, and it will be returned as a response here. So this is basically it's just to check if the server is working or not. Now we'll move on to the next request. So this is basically uh, this request is called evaluate. So this what this basically does is we pass an address, a Cardano address in the body of this request, and this request basically checks if this particular Cardano address has ELADR tokens in it. So it uses the Cardano scan API to do that. Uh, we can see the implementation in this code right here. Yeah, so we can see it here. And okay, so we don't have a lot of time left in this video. So let me quickly run it, and we'll discuss it in the next part. Yeah, so we can see we have the policy ID of the ELADR token, the name, the fingerprint, and the current balance of this particular address here. So this is all about the evaluate request. Then next we'll move on to our first post request, and this request basically so here we have the request body which has these fields, the name, description, and the wallet address. So this basically posts a particular wallet address and its details to IPFS. So the backend implementation of this particular request can be found out in this main application code. So we'll run this API, and we'll wait for the response. So yeah, so we can see this was successful as it has the code 200, and what it did is it basically uploaded this particular metadata to IPFS, and it has returned a CID, or content identification hash. So that is how data storage and addressing in IPFS works. So that is a different matter altogether, subject altogether. But then this is how it works with the help of hashes. So not save it, and then we'll move on to our next request. So in this next request, this is also called meta, but this one is a get request. The last one was meta, which was a post request. This one is to fetch the metadata that has already been uploaded to IPFS, and this fetching works with the help of this hash that was returned in the previous step. So in this API call, we have the body in the form, in this form, and we have only one field, that is hash, and we pass it through here, and we'll send the request and wait for the response. And as we can see, we get back the same data that uh, we had already sent as a request here, like the request body here. So we get back the same data. So this is pretty cool. And the next one, okay, so this is very interesting. In the next one, we basically upload a media file. The last post request was for uploading the metadata, and this one is for uploading the actual file to IPFS. So as we can see, this has a form data body. So so this basically has a file field, and we have uploaded a file here, and now we'll send it to the, okay, so it returns a bad request here. I figured out what the problem was. I re-uploaded the file, and now, so we can see we receive yet another hash. This is the CID hash for this particular file that was uploaded to IPFS. And conversely, in the next request, we have a get request where we get to pass the hash here, and we can actually get back the URL to the actual file. So we'll pass in this one, and we actually get back the URL to this file where the file is located on IPFS. Uh, okay, so now we'll move on to the next request. So we are done till get file request, and now we'll move on to the next post request. So this is very interesting. Now that we have uploaded our metadata and our files to IPFS, we actually need to store these CID hashes somewhere. So what we'll do is we'll basically store these hashes in a MySQL database. So this is what it does. It uploads the CID details, the IPFS details to this particular database. So this right here is a dummy body. So you can see these are not real hashes. This is not a real wallet address. So this is just a dummy, but then it should work just fine. So we'll send in this request and wait for the response. And yeah, so we can see right here that our request was passed uh, passed through successfully, and that this new record was uploaded to the database. Now, so notice we have a field here called ID, which has a value of 3. So this has to be kept in mind, and if we want to fetch this particular detail from the database, we need to use this next API. So we'll pass in this ID, for example ID3, and then we'll send the request, and this should fetch the details. And as we have here, we have the details under ID3 that were inside the database. So these have all the necessary details, such as when this record was created, when was it first updated or last updated, and all of these are right here. So we are almost at the end of our API collection. So the last two are basically some additional APIs. So this one fetches all the records from the database, and this pretty naturally it does not take any request body. So we just send this request, and as expected, it returns an array of all the request objects in the JSON format, response objects. We have 3 at this moment. We can add more. And the last one here is the search item. So this is just a dummy query. This is not a real query. There is not enough data to search from. So if we send this data, this will probably return not found. But then, yeah, we get the idea. It will return not found, but then this is how it works. So with that, we have reached the end of our API collection, and we'll have a quick look at the documentation here. So this is the Postman documentation. We have a proper documentation in the GitHub repository under the wiki folder. It's called the API documentation. Yeah, you can get more details about the API documentation there. And yeah, I hope this one helps. Thank you.